Welcome
Welcome
to
to
the Consensual Carnage
podcast.
podcast. I'm Max,
And I'm
and
Bats.
we are here to bring you the knowledge on the sex work industry and the play party scene and the kink scene. So my name is Maxwell Fierce. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a shibari instructor and a play party producer, and my day job is tattoo artist. I've been in the kink scene for about 6 years and the play party scene for about 2 years. And I've been teaching rope for about a year. And yourself?
I'm Bats. They, them pronouns. I am a performer, producer, provider, multidimensional artist, is the shortest way to encompass all of the facets that I just do. Yeah, also on kind of your boat, have been producing parties more events. I feel like I can get into everything.
There's a lot.
There's just so much.
It's kind of a lifestyle, really.
It kind of is a lifestyle.
Yes.
But that's in short.
All encompassing.
That's.
This is you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about our podcast. We named Consensual Carnage. And a little bit behind that, definitely heavily influenced by the Collective Corruption production company. Consensual Carnage is also the name of our porn production company that we're growing right now. And I think we came to this name because we kind of wanted to, well, like I said, we're influenced by collective corruption because we really enjoy the style of porn that is, and kind of the message I think that's going along with it, as well as the fact that they're like a little more queer oriented, and they have like a really good, I would say, like foundation in like consent and that kind of thing. And that's really what we want to bring to our own company. And hence the consensual part of Consensual Carnage, which is the consent aspect of it. I feel like this is something that personally I wanted to bring heavy into our production company because I think it's something that might be like lacking a little bit in the mainstream porn industry. Consent is not necessarily something that's really like put out there on the forefront. It's not really something that's talked about or even shown in porn. Yeah. And yet it's like vital to creating responsible and successful porn. So putting that right out there, consensual being the first thing, and then carnage for me, it's kind of like my personal preference when it comes to porn is like much more like visceral or like primal, like the carnal pleasures, you know what I mean? So kind of like invoking that kind of imagery of like carnage, like carnal and visceral. So it's like the consent plus, but also the more like animalistic side as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think the best sex is really primal sex, where you can kind of let go of any societal implications of this is what sex should look like and sound like and feel like, versus letting go and just having really good like chemistry with somebody. But again, we want the consent to be at the forefront of it, of course, because I think it gets lost in a lot of media that is consumed.
For sure. Especially in the porn industry.
So we want to do it different.
So that's what we're all about. So let's talk a little bit about how we got here.
It all started 4 years ago.
Yeah. I guess it actually all started maybe 6 years ago when we first met.
Very true.
When we first met.
The lore.
Yeah, let's get real deep in though. So when we first met, Bass was actually a tattoo client of mine, and that was our relationship. We were client and artist, and I think at the time, like you weren't even doing. Oh, I guess you said you were doing some kink.
Yeah, it was really light and not at the level that I'm at now. It was more of a curiosity, going to a couple of parties with friends, but not really being in community at all.
Yes.
It was more curiosity.
Yes.
At that
point, neither of us had really entered into the scene yet, I don't think.
Not officially.
So it was kind of like a really slow progression over the years. We met about 6 years ago. We were tattoo artists and client, and then we started to become a little bit more friendly. And it just kind of like all the stars aligned that we both kind of like entered into a chapter of our life where we were like ready to enter to the play party scene, which happened like almost simultaneously, I feel like.
Yeah, you started a little bit before me. I think I was going to some parties, but they were more specific, and I heard about other ones, and
then I think I might have invited you to one.
And then it was history from there.
Yeah, and then we went from brand new to the play party scene to basically running the parties at the play party scene within 2 years. Of meeting. And for me, and also in our journey together, it was a lot about shibari.
Definitely, shibari was, I think, one of our first hangs outside of like a transactional session.
And yeah, I think that kind of like started establishing more of a friendship, and definitely establishing more of like a dynamic between us.
Yep.
Which then evolved into content creation.
Yeah, which is what we're doing now.
Yeah, and I feel like it was the same thing almost, where it just kind of like naturally progressed that we were both kind of like ready at the same time to do this, and then we kind of just started doing it. Yeah, that's crazy.
Shout out to us for having the desire and following through. We make good accountability, brother.
You gotta be authentic.
Accountability brothers.
Exactly. Accountability brothers. So my road journey personally, I started about 4 years ago. And the reason why I started is I had a partner. It's something that I feel like I was always interested in. Like in high school, I used to draw girls tied up, and I didn't even know why. Like I didn't know what that was.
Great.
And actually, I would I would draw girls tied up masturbating, and then masturbate to the image that I drew.
Yeah, I mean.
And at the time, I had no idea what was wrong with me. I was just like, I don't know what's happening.
Nothing was wrong with you.
For years, like before I got into the kink scene, I think this is a common thing. Like,
oh, probably.
Because I didn't have any reference or like examples of kink in my life. So having these images and like these desires early on, I had like a lot of guilt over it.
That's
like,
fair. I think a lot of people in the community work through guilt and shame.
For sure. But I finally met somebody who also is interested in kink, and we kind of like brought it out in each other. And the first thing that we connected over was rope, because previously, before we met, I had bought like a bundle of shibari rope, just being like,
curious.
This is cool. Like, it's sexy. I'm just going to hang it on my wall as like a decoration. Like, ooh, cool. Not really like knowing that I would ever use it one day. But then I met somebody who was like, oh, hey, what's that?
Yeah.
Do you want to try it out?
Yeah.
So then we started doing shibari. It was a very slow journey at first, honestly.
It's intimidating.
And also it's kind of like, it takes a lot of muscle memory to like get even just the basics down.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of like practice and time. It's like a lot of time commitment.
Yeah, and if you don't have a lot of time to give to it, you're not going to pick it up as quickly as you maybe want to.
Exactly. And also it's a thing where like, if you don't have somebody who's like a regular bottom in your life, it may be difficult to practice, because you kind of need a partner. I
wouldn't say you need a partner. There are definitely a lot of people who self-tie.
Yeah, of
but
course.
It's different when you're tying with someone.
Right, exactly.
Just more experience.
And you could just get more complex with it. So, that can be a hurdle when learning shibari.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of a slow journey, probably like about 3 or 4 years on and off. And then got a lot more serious in the past maybe like year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Because it coincided with getting a private studio space for my tattoo business. And then having that space basically allowed for me to install a hard point, which allowed for me to just basically have the place to do it. That's another hurdle for a lot of people, I think. Accessibility. Like, most people don't have accessibility to just like hang a hard point in their house.
No, let alone buy all of the bundles you realistically want and will need eventually to just do all the things you want to do.
Exactly. So yeah, it was a bit of a slow journey, but then, you know, in the past like year or two, since I have the space and since I've been prioritizing it a little bit more, it's, you know, more frequent, and to the point now where I'm actually teaching it, which is kind of like weird. Going from like one end of the spectrum all the way to the other. So yeah. And what about you? What do you think like was the initial thing that you entered into?
So I feel like my first relationship, I was 15, going on 16, and the partner I had was more experienced in DNS dynamics.
DS dynamics? Okay.
And was just all around a kinky motherfucker that introduced me to a lot. Again, accessibility being an issue when you're a teenager. You don't have a lot of tools or money to buy all the things. So we were really just doing like makeshift restraints.
Like going to the hardware store.
Yeah,
hardware store is kinky as fuck, by the way.
It is very kinky as fuck. I'm pretty sure I know a lot of people who DIY, and Home Depot is the place to be.
But you can always tell like the kinky ones at Home Depot because they're like hanging out near the chains.
Yeah. Accurate. Yeah. But definitely my first relationship was my first like taste of a kinky life. And I think within our relationship, I didn't know we were doing a DNS dynamic. Like I knew.
DS? Yeah. You keep saying DNS.
Oh.
DS.
Just DS. Yes. Not there's no N there. We're not D&D-ing.
A D&D relationship.
Yeah, just that do not disturb.
Kinky. Or you just sit around playing Dungeons and Dragons all day.
Yeah, just living in a fantasy world. But anyway, it was more of a DS relationship where, yeah, I was the sub, they were the dominant, and looking back, it was nice because I knew that I liked that and was interested and curious, but it was also like bad because it wasn't really appropriate at all.
Wait, how old were you?
16.
Oh yeah, it's probably too young.
And the person was like 4 or 5 years older than me. So, I mean, besides that being problematic and all the other things, I'm so grateful because I think I got to experience it. Not that it's a pro that I got to experience it younger, but I think I always knew that that was an interest of mine since I experienced it younger. Once that relationship ended, got into a vanilla relationship, and didn't really get back into kink until the pandemic, honestly. Once I started expanding content creation, attending gatherings in the real world, hiring shibari riggers to tie me up and actually be in rope more than just floor ties, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I could be in this as much as I want to be in it. I just have to show up more and meet the people. So 4 years, I would say 4 years ago, it really took off, and it feels like everything I know is completely different than what I learned a decade ago.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, my mind has definitely expanded a lot since entering in the scene.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's just growth.
Yeah, right. So what about like content creation then?
What's I mean, I've been doing content creation technically since before I was 18, but when I was 18 is when I started content creating, and it started with webcamming online for 3 years and making custom content for people. I'll always remember the first video I did for someone where I was like stripping in a store.
In a store, even? It was a custom video?
It was a custom video.
What store?
I got
like a
paid.
department
It was
store?
it was a really weird, sketchy store in our neighborhood that had a lot of it had a lot of traffic, but there were days it didn't have traffic, and the day it didn't have traffic, I went in and I did the little strip video and I
Was
teased
it
the
specifically
camera.
requested that you do this in public or something?
Basically, yeah, they have a public, seeing public nudity
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
being teased about it. So I would go into different
And you were
places.
16?
No, by that time I was 18, 19, 20.
Okay, still.
I waited to monetize at least. But yeah, no, I started early and then took a break, kind of went back into civ life, did all the things, and then found my way back. Interestingly enough, I was still kind of selling content, like custom videos on Tumblr. And that was fun. So I feel like during the pandemic, once OnlyFans came around,
Yeah, that's my deal.
I was like, wait a minute. They just made this really easy. I think I want to hop on it.
Yeah.
And definitely when I first started doing it, I was also in a relationship with someone who was not making content, was very vanilla, was very just not someone I would be with today. And since ending that relationship, I've just been able to have more freedom to do more of it, which I'm really good at and enjoy doing. So it's been
Love that
fun.
for you. Yeah. Well, personally, my journey kind of started during the pandemic
as well.
Like, I knew that this is something that I was interested in probably 7 years ago.
Oh yeah, when I was 18, I thought that I was going into filmmaking to make a porn company, and then I was like, no, I'm not doing that.
And now you're actually doing it.
and then I was like, oh wait, actually, when I had that idea, that was the idea. I should have stuck with it.
Well, here we are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I knew probably 7 years ago that I wanted to get into porn, but as soon as I made that decision for my life, I also met somebody new, simultaneously. And at the time, I was monogamous and not kinky and not in the sex positive community.
Yeah.
So that kind of closed the door for that for me. So I kind of just was like, all right, I guess I'm not going to be in porn. But it was kind of a thing. They're just always
in the back of your mind
at me. Exactly. Like I was like, okay, I'm just not going to do this because I'm in this relationship now. But then we started getting doing kink in the relationship, and then I started making content with my partner. And once I started making content with my partner, I was like, oh, I can't ignore this. I want to do this. So it was kind of a big point of contention in my relationship for a long time.
I bet.
Because I was monogamous and my partner didn't want me doing porn, essentially. They didn't want me making that my job, or that they didn't even have a concept that they could be with somebody who did that for a living.
Yeah.
So that was a huge barrier for a while, where it was kind of I know this is something that I want to do, but I have a partner who's not supportive of it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a back and forth for many years, probably 4 or 5 years, until my partner and I opened our relationship. And then once we opened our relationship, it was kind of simultaneous with when we started going to more play parties. And once we started going to more play parties, it became more realistic for me to make content, because I was meeting people that were open to those kinds of things.
Yeah.
But going back to my initial story, which is that I started my content creation journey during the pandemic. So I knew about 7 years ago that I wanted to do this, but I didn't really have the opportunity until about 4 years ago when the pandemic happened, both because I was in a monogamous relationship for that period of time, which ended up opening right around that time. And then it also allowed for the time to do it. That was the big thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a big hurdle for a lot of people. It's just because
scheduling is
it takes so much time to be a content creator.
It's the bane of my existence.
I know. Like it's not.
I feel like I need an assistant sometimes,
absolutely.
which is insane. But I'm just like, this is insane.
Anybody who says sex work is not work doesn't know jack shit. Because sex work is the most work, to be honest. Like it's kind of like a 24/7 job, honestly, because
it is a 24/7 job because you're doing everything.
Yeah, you're like wearing so many hats. Yeah, and it's just like, it's like, anytime that you watch a porn, you're not thinking about the fact that like somebody had to come up with the concept for it, think about all the different scenes, map out all those scenes, shoot all those scenes, put the transfer all those scenes onto their computer, edit all of those scenes, and then create a product. And then once you create the product, that's not where it ends, because now you have to push the product out into the world. So there's a whole process of creating an entire like
production. Even in all of those steps, there's so many other steps, or like,
I know,
minor things that you need to consider, and no one realizes it or sees it.
It's kind of insane. I feel like we're off topic though.
I think it's interesting though that we both kind of knew we wanted to do this so long ago, and it took life experiences to happen to open those doors for us.
It's true. It's interesting because I think that kind of like poly, how everybody's coming from a different angle. I've seen this in porn too, where it's like
everyone's some people, it's like angle.
They've been doing this since they were like 16, basically. Or some of the people are like coming from the angle of it's like the only option that they really have, like given their circumstances. Or some people is coming from the angle like myself, where it's like it's something that I have like an innate desire for, but it just took me so long to actually get around to doing it because of life circumstances.
Yeah, talking about the innate desire reminds me of like being young in a schoolyard, and it was around the time where Hugh Hefner's Play Bunnies reality TV shows on.
The what is that, House Bunny?
Or like,
no, that's the movie.
That is the movie.
The Girls Next Door.
The Girls Next Door. I wanted it. That was what I wanted for my job.
Really?
I wanted to be one of the bunnies, and everyone. I mean, some people got it, and then other people didn't. I was just like, I don't really want to work. I just want to be really hot and like make out with people and just be.
Yeah, love that. Fuck yeah.
It's in the cards.
It is. I mean,
it's never too late. It's kind of happening.
You're already building your career in it.
Yeah, basically.
Building a career for being hot.
We can all.
Yeah, it's kind of great. What are some of the hurdles that you would say that it takes to get into the porn industry or content creation?
Well, I think the biggest hurdle that most people end up crossing, and it might be easier for some than others, is just the societal pressures and knowing what society thinks about sex workers and people who are making content. I think definitely just reflecting on my journey, that's probably why I didn't go all in at 18 like I wanted to. Yeah. And it took me an extra 12 years to get it going. But that's probably one of the biggest, next to all of the other like unknowns of where to start. And I think a lot of
just
people,
the basics, basically.
There's so many basics because I know people who have been doing sex work like this for over 10 years and they've never had a partner. And like all of their content is solo.
Content
and they're is solo. Very successful.
Yeah.
Which goes to show you don't need a partner and you don't need to be traditional in that sense of like working with production companies or collaborating with other people. Right. You could literally just be by yourself with a bunch of toys and a good backdrop. And
yeah, I mean, the landscape has changed so much in the past like even 5 years, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure probably 10 years ago it was unheard of finding success being a solo creator.
Right.
Versus now
needing, like back then I feel like you needed to have some sort of representation or
literally about a decade ago people had agents and got booked with their agents and their agents got a cut and
I mean, that still
yeah,
exists, right? I feel
it
like
does. But I think
especially in the mainstream porn industry, a
it's
lot of
more
people go to
California.
agencies
Yeah.
to like find their talent.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if that agency is actually has like morals,
Mm-hmm.
it
Which
could
they
be a good
don't.
idea.
Yeah, but they don't. They're all pretty
Because then it
bad.
kind of like eliminates a little bit of the like
All of the
the
unknown.
unknowns. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think
But
that's also why it's really tricky, because if you do go down that path and an agency doesn't have your best interest at heart, they're going to exploit you, which
mhm.
is what ends up happening, which is also why I think sex work has bad stigma, is for those stories where they're like, oh, the agency is taking advantage of that poor girl.
Yeah,
So sad.
right, right.
When in reality, there's so many people now who maybe aren't even in agencies or are in agencies that love what they're doing.
Yes, I agree. So going along with what you were saying about having societal pressures as far as like stigmas against being a sex worker, I think that's also like not only an external pressure
Mm-hmm.
because of people's judgment or opinions of you, but also an internal pressure
Yeah, it
because
is.
you're learning this. You've learned this your whole life because
Mm-hmm.
this everyone is existing in the society.
Yep.
Uh, so therefore, you've internalized these messages that then you have to kind of unlearn in
Or work
order,
through.
yeah, work through and or unlearn in order for you to even be able to like look at yourself in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And personally, I think that's part of my own like hurdle journey
Oh, 100%. Mine too.
where the majority of my life I didn't even consider that as a possibility just because like I was like, no, I can't do that. That's wrong or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Like that's not
it's
something.
innately immoral.
Yes, exactly. It's not something your parents are going to be proud of you to do.
Sure, yeah. Very few
Stereotypically.
people's parents.
Stereotypically anyway.
Right. And it's something where it's very unfortunate, but it's like if you're a sex worker for 20 years of your life and you want to change career paths, you can't exactly just put that on your resume, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So now
Uh,
you've got this huge gap.
yeah, you got this huge gap, even though you have all these skills that you've acquired, but you can't
Mm-hmm.
even use them.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Um, Along with that, I would say like you can actually be stigmatized in your life. Like sometimes people won't rent to you if they know you're a sex worker,
Yeah, for
or
sure.
yeah,
And it's also like depending on how you're doing it and what your income looks like, it could even be hard to get housing.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
renting for like apartment
Mm-hmm.
or whatever else,
Just showing that you're a
whatever
human being.
use. Exactly.
Totally. I think another hurdle besides the societal ones is also kind of the hurdles of the not every day, but the occasional also having to deal with like pirating and streaming and people kind of stealing your content and repurposing it and
Mm-hmm.
monetizing over it.
This does happen quite a bit. I've seen where like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know what the purpose is, but like having somebody make a fake Instagram account or social media account with like all your pictures and like a new name,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just basically selling
And they follow
you.
all of your followers. Sometimes they might even follow you. I'm like, this is a bot.
Are people making money off of
No,
this
those
though?
are bots.
They're bot, but why
It's
is there
so it's a
bots out there doing this?
I there's so many questions I can't answer.
Creepy.
These are just the facts I've heard. I'm sure that there are also like some real sick people out there who
Just to fuck
are
with people?
actually pirating like hardcore. Because like my fear, I've had the Instagram like mirror hack thing happen where they'll follow all of the people that I'm following, use my photos, change the name, and then like have a website up that it's supposed to it mirrors my OnlyFans, but it's not an OnlyFans. So now they're also trying to get subscribers who are my people to follow, thinking it's me.
That's creepy.
It's bad, and that's a hurdle. Are there any other hurdles that
I
would
think,
say come to mind?
well, there's like the obvious. I guess I would say like it's like a branding thing where it's kind of like,
Whew, yeah, branding is so. I mean, it can be difficult and it can't be difficult. It all depends on what your niche is. I feel like some people, their niche is being beautiful
yeah, yeah.
versus someone else who it might be like feet or cosplay
Mm-hmm.
or jerk off instructions,
Right.
GOI.
Yeah.
There's so many different niches out there. I
Mm-hmm,
know there are
mm-hmm.
people who literally just do like cake sitting videos,
For sure.
balloon popping.
Yeah, I think that's part of it is like finding your voice
Mm-hmm.
and finding your like
Like aesthetic.
community, finding your aesthetic. And then there's also like the work of actually building all your platforms, which is a lot, like very time consuming.
Yeah.
Not just building, but also maintaining on a
Mhm.
regular basis.
Mhm.
So that could be a hurdle. I think time is really what it comes down to.
Time is always what it comes down to.
It's true. I think
We don't have
that
enough hours in the day.
that's true of everything, obviously, but I think when it comes to sex work, it's because
You're
there's
doing all the jobs.
so much like not overhead, but there's so many things that you need to do before you even see your first penny.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
The production side of it is like mostly free, basically,
Yeah.
until you can actually sell the product.
Mhm.
So that's really what it comes down to, I think.
100%. Another hurdle, resources. I know so many people who I mean don't even wear lingerie, they're just naked in all of their videos because lingerie is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
But also most people just like really want to see you naked. So,
Yeah,
they
so
get
that
it.
works.
That's their niche.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is like a hurdle that applies to most things, but the cost, like,
Yeah.
it's expensive.
It is more expensive than people realize, and if
Way more
you
expensive, honestly, because every
it's
single shoot, if you're getting a new costume, new lighting or whatever,
yeah,
and there's like
accessories or
constant,
backdrop, it could be
yes,
rentals,
rentals, exactly. So
hiring folks if that's
like if
the
you're
level
having
you're even
a
at.
like a yeah, like think about if you're having like an orgy scene, right?
Oh
There's
my god.
five, six, seven different actors, and they're all getting paid. How much do you think that actually adds up to?
And also just like coordinating the time.
Oh my god, yeah, that's for sure. It's a scheduling thing.
Yeah, I think the amount of hurdles honestly could be limitless. Which theoretically, sure, isn't that all of life, but these are definitely like top for
I think
content
it's some of the
creation.
things that people don't think about when they think about both choosing a career in this and also from an outside perspective, people that don't understand what it
Oh, well, I've
takes.
had so many people be curious and inquire about starting one, and then when they like go through the works of it, they're like, oh, "This is mad work.
Ugh.
Like, I actually lost all my desire to do this."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, that's another one. Also, is like keeping that bar
Mhm.
high is
Mhm.
so hard because this is another thing that people don't think about. It's like, okay, if you're going into this, uh, then you're assuming like you're going into this and this is something that you do want to be doing. You are probably a sexual person, right? But keeping
Probably.
that, probably yes. Well, assuming that you're enjoying the experience and this is
Sure.
something that you're doing because you like,
Yeah.
uh, but keeping that sexual bar high, especially when it's like you might be shooting like 4 or 5 scenes in a row or like in a weekend or something.
Mhm.
That's like a lot of work, honestly.
It's so much work. It's so, so, so,
It's
so, so
acting
much
at the end
work.
of the day.
Oh, 100%. Because a lot of the times, especially if you're the one who's recording, setting everything up, like by the time you're doing the deed and getting your shot,
Hmm.
you're probably exhausted.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, now I have to like get it up for this entire experience. And
You have
sometimes
to
like you're just
perform.
physically, yeah, exhausted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's another big hurdle that people don't really think about.
Mhm.
They're just thinking about like the the plus sides or the bonuses that they
Yeah, it's like
assume.
looking at all the influencers who start their accounts and make millions in one day.
Yeah,
These are all people who have all those eyes on them already.
already,
So
right.
it's that much easier versus your
Mm-hmm.
average person with less than 5,000 followers
Mm-hmm.
who has to build all of that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. Well, I think that was a pretty extensive.
Very extensive.
So be warned if you're into the content creation.
Yeah, you've got a lot to ponder about,
Yeah.
a lot of hurdles to cross.
But on the plus side, it's the freedom that you have being an entrepreneur and making a living doing
That
something that's
is the
fun,
biggest, making your own schedule.
making
You're
your
your own
schedule.
boss.
Mm-hmm.
The travel that comes with it
Yep.
sometimes, just perks in community and meeting people you probably wouldn't have met otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. I think a community is a big part
Oh
for
yeah,
me.
100%. I can't imagine like people who are doing it without building community or like really being considerate or intentional in that way. I can't
Yeah.
imagine them enjoying it as much as we are.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like the two camps, I would say, is
Yeah,
like there's the porn where, well, there's probably more than two, but
always.
these camps, the general camps, I would say, is like porn where it's like more of a you're hiring out from like an agency situation, or it's like more of an independent perspective where you're having like almost like a porn family, or like a small unit of people that all like know each other and are constantly creating with each other. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's part of it, is like having that community. It's
Yeah.
nice.
The pros are definitely worth it if you can get over all the hurdles and at
Mm-hmm.
the end of the day are really authentically enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah, and it may be a lot of work, but at the end of the day, you're fucking for a living, so
Right,
can't be
like
so
can't be so bad.
bad.
When did you realize you could monetize actually like creating content?
um,
Even though let's be honest, like how much are we really monetizing anyway right now?
well, I guess I always knew I could monetize it. It's really just like been the journey of like getting to a place where I can monetize it. Because to monetize
Yeah,
it means to be constantly creating.
successful on the scale of like that revenue.
Yeah. And it also just means having like the machine working, because if you're only shooting once every 3 to 5 months, then it's really not enough content to like sustain an entire channel
Yeah,
or website or what have you. So it's really
yeah.
about like getting that momentum of
Mhm.
content creation
And
to
continuing it on.
right to even be able to sustain making a living from it,
True.
or any part of your income from
True, true, true.
it. How about you?
Yeah, I think I always knew it was also monetizable, but also waiting to see like the digits you want to see is the motivation.
Mm,
I think it's
like the
interesting.
social media following?
Not even the social media following, just like the actual revenue of having that passive income from like, for example, I've had my OnlyFans up for 4 years now. So I have had a passive income for the past 4 years. That's actually not been bad, which I think also is like an interesting take. I don't know if it's like a gender thing where femme presenting people are just like they get the upper hand in this
Absolutely. I
in
mean,
this industry by far.
yeah, for sure. Like having, as a mass presenting person, having my OnlyFans up, it's like a trickle. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
versus my experience in starting out slow but still doing well versus now I'm like hustling my booty off and doing so much
Hmm.
content. And it's like, yes, I can feel like that impact, but also I was never really like struggling. So it just feels good to like have some improvement, but know that it was also like not that hard, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
great.
Cool. All right. I think that probably does it for today.
Hell yeah.
So, signing
Until
off.
next time.
This was the Consensual Carnage podcast. Peace out.
Tune in next time. It's so hot. I feel like we both had